Hey, welcome to Musician Species. 9/8, 6 different counts. Groups of 2 and 3, the Western traditional count, and then the short 5. Now, when it comes to 9/8, we need to make a very clear distinction between the common side of 9/8 and the truly odd side of 9/8. 9/8 has its place in Western classical music and in Southern gospel. So that means on any given Sunday, if you walk into a black church, chances are you're going to hear 9/8, and it sounds even. It doesn't sound odd. It's counted in even groups of 3, which makes it feel consistent, not odd, not lopsided like most odd time signatures in the 8th pulse anyway. So when you listen to it in the traditional count, the Western traditional count, it sounds like it feels even, it doesn't feel odd. So where I'm not going to cover this side of 9/8 because, again, it doesn't feel as odd and it doesn't have that character. Now, back to the Eastern traditional use of 9/8 and what has emerged in the West by, introduced by rock musicians and alike. So on the East side, it's counted in groups of 2 and 3. So you have the two very common counts, which are 2, 2, 2, 3. 3, 2, 2, 2, and then you also have the mathematical derivatives, which are 2, 3, 2, 2, and 2, 2, 3, 2. These two counts are not common in the East, in the folklores, but they are, again, very useful for progressive styles. And then when it comes to the Western side of the odd face of 9/8, which is, introduced by rock musicians, the short 5 is basically playing 5/4, cutting the 5th beat, and that's why it's called short 5. Now, when it comes to the groups of 2 and 3, the first most common example would be from a gypsy song from the Balkans, and it's like right? I'm not saying the words 1 to 1 to 1 to 1 to 1 to 3 and all that stuff. I'm playing the beat, singing the beat, the count as I go, because that's really what you need to have in your head, in your ears as you play, because it feels like the drum beat you're playing to. It doesn't have to be the drum beat. It could be the percussion. It doesn't matter. But that's the pulse. That's the real nature of 9/8. So because 2 eighth notes, a group of 2, are the same as a quarter note, I will just sing it as a quarter note. So boom, 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 right? And then the 3 are da-ka-da, boom, 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 da-ka-da, doom, 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 da-da, doom, 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 da-ka-da, doom, 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 ba-ba, right? That's what you need to do. That way you can feel it immediately. As soon as you get used to it, used to singing that way, you feel the beat immediately. You don't have to think about numbers. You shouldn't think about numbers. You're not thinking when you play music unless you don't know the song, and then, what is this? Now, the next one is 3, 2, 2, 2. It could be something like this is all very traditional, right? And it doesn't have to be a cup of tea, but if you go into the mixing of 2 and 3, where you have, let's say, 2, 3, 2, 2, that's where stuff gets really interesting. So you go like, right? Or you go like 2, 2, 3, 2. You can slow it down. Right? So it works for any style, metal, ethnic, whatever. Now in jazz, Dave Brubeck has used it in Blue Rondo on a Turk, and he used the 2, 2, 2, 3 count, ending with the 3, 3, 3 in the last bar of each phrase. So it'd be like, I think it's 4 bars. Now, of course, like all his other stuff, it's written in 9/4. That's because it's easier to read 8th notes and swing them than to do 16th notes. If you write it in 9/8, it would have to be 16th notes. But honestly, it sounds like 9/8, a traditional 9/8. So it's got boom, 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 pagada, boom, 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 pagada, boom, 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 pagada, pagada, tagada, tagada, right? 2, 2, 2, 3, and then a 3, 3, 3 at the end of each phrase. Now, moving on to the Western rock interpretation of 9/8. So that would be the short 5. The 5th beat is short. So let's look at where 9/8 sits when it comes to other time signatures. So if 9/8 is in the middle, 4/4 is a little smaller by an eighth, and then 5/4 is bigger by an eighth. So this is where you can approach 9/8 from typical beat, 4/4 or 5/4 even, because it's, you know, solid quarter notes. It doesn't really skip. It doesn't throw you off. And then you can go into 9/8. So if you have something like a 70s progressive style kind of riff that's in 5, you can shorten that and make it a 9/8 by using the short 5 method. So right? So that gives you, you know, again, an easier way to fall into 9/8. Getting used to the skip is, you know, something you need to learn, but the skip has the speed of an eighth note. Right? And so to sum it up, you have two faces of 9/8, the common side and the odd side. The common side, I would say, is the Western classical count of 3/3/3, which you also find in Southern Gospel. And then you have the odd side, that is groups of 2 and 3, and then the short 5. And that's it. Now you know. Subscribe if you dig, and I'll see you in the next video.